Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be another classic movie review for you guys, and this time I'm going to be doing another one of those classic movie reviews that is a movie that I have seen before, that I've just never reviewed to you guys. So, I know that a lot of you will probably request for me to review this movie, because it's regarded as one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. In my opinion, it probably is the best science fiction movie of all time, and that is the 1985 comedy science fiction classic Back to the Future. Now, Back to the Future is a film that I particularly love. I love this movie. I think it's a fantastic movie, and I've always loved these movies. I've always thought they were great movies. I've always loved the idea of Back to the Future, and they're just really great movies in my opinion. Yes, I do have the trilogy on DVD. I do not have them on Blu-ray. And, I saw Back to the Future, and I'm like, you know what, I gotta review these films for people, because, I know people would ask me to, so I decided to, and, this movie, in my opinion, is pretty much a masterpiece. We're not gonna talk about the second one. The second one is something that I'll talk about next year, because next year I'm gonna try to do, like, more franchises, but this year is more focused on the original. We're gonna be talking about the first Back to the Future, and basically, Back to the Future came out in a very, big time, was the 80s, and, the guy that was making most science fiction films was Steven Spielberg. Those were most of the ones that he was making, and, it was a very big, movie, definitely, because, Michael J. Fox, was in this movie, Michael J. Fox, a big role for Michael J. Fox, a very big movie for its time, and, when it came out, it was the most successful movie of that year. So it's a very important movie to review, and it's regarded as I said, one of the best science fiction movies of all time. Now, in case you guys don't know what Back to the Future is about, which, if you don't, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? You need to know what it's about. Basically, it's about this kid, Marty McFly, who is this teenager, and, he is really good friends with this guy, Doc Brown, who, he sort of, makes time machines, and he tells him how he's made this time machine, basically. And, he pretty much sends this time machine, but, he kind of disappears. We don't know where he went or whatever. And, Marty ends up, going into that time machine, and what he realizes is when he goes in that time machine, he sets it for 1955. He is sent back in time to 1955, where he meets his future parents in high school. And, basically he realizes this is how they met and everything. However, by doing this, he accidentally becomes his mother's romantic interest. And that's a big issue because he must repair the damage by history by causing his parents to fall in love again. And, he also needs to find a way to return back to, 1985. And that's basically what this movie's about. That's basically what it's about. And, that's the basic premise of, Back to the Future. So, let's just get to the acting in this movie. The acting in this movie is terrific. Everyone in this movie is absolutely fantastic. I think everyone did a really good job. First of all, you have Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. This kid is fantastic. I mean, he's not a kid anymore. I mean, it's really sad what happened to him with his Parkinson's disease and things like that he can't make movies like this anymore. But this is by far Michael J. Fox's best performance. I mean, it's his best movie by far. It definitely is his best movie, in my opinion. I don't think... When people think Michael J. Fox, they think of this and the TV show Family Ties. That's what they think of. This was actually when he was, very popular with, teens. Family Ties, actually a really good, underrated show, in my opinion. Very good underrated 80s show that my mom got me into, but that show was very popular at the time, and they wanted him to do a movie, so he did this movie, and it was very successful, as I said, and he just gave a very good performance, very, very funny in his role. It was very funny to watch him, try to get his parents together. The way he becomes friends with both his mother and his father is also very, very funny. It's very fun to watch that, definitely, and that's one of the reasons why that he was one of the best parts of the movie. However, the best part of this movie, by far, is Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd, just so many quotable lines, the 10 big gigawatts, 8.5 gigawatts, or whatever he says, something like that. He talks the gigawatt scene, or, great Scott! So many, quotable lines from, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. this is Christopher Lloyd's best performance, in my opinion. I don't think he gave a better performance than he did in this movie. Like, his performance in this movie is just amazing. The things that he does, you kind of think he's a little crazy at points, but you know, truthfully, he is a genius. He knows what he's doing with his time machine. And it's definitely really cool, especially when Marty is sent back in time to 1955. Doc Brown's actually creating the time machine in that year. And, you know, it definitely is very, you know, he's actually creating his first invention. Well, he didn't create the time machine until 1985, but I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've seen this movie. So, but, you know, he's creating it then, and, you know, it's really fun to see Marty go back in time to 1955, you know, when Doc was there, and I just thought that was very fun to watch, and that's one of my favorite parts of this movie, is to see Christopher Lloyd. You know, he's one of the best parts of all three of these movies. He is just fantastic in this movie, and he's very, very good. Leah Thompson, you know, now she's on Switched at Birth, very successful on that. She plays Lorraine. She is really, really funny in this movie. I think she's very funny. When she's young, very, very good in this movie. I really enjoyed her. Crispin Glover as George, also very good. And then there's Biff, Thomas F. Wilson as Biff. Biff is fantastic, of course. You know, Biff is at first, you know, George's childhood bully, but later something else happens that Marty does, and I kind of like how, even though he is sent back in time, he actually makes his parents, you know, how they got together, their story more interesting. He kind of alters the future, makes it more interesting. You know, that's pretty much everyone. The only other person I think we'll talk about is James Tolkien as Mr. Strickland, who is always very, very funny. You know, he's kind of like a slacker teacher. You know, he calls Marty a slacker. He calls George a slacker. Always very funny to watch. I mean, he's a really good teacher, and you know, he's a really fun, really fun part to watch. Very, very funny. Really enjoy his role. And the only person we'll talk about is Claudia Wells as Jennifer. She unfortunately was replaced after this movie. I guess the actress just didn't want to come back or whatever, so they replaced her in the second one, but she was definitely very good. She's Marty's main love interest, and she definitely did a very good job. She's not as big of a role in this one as she does in the second one. The second one, she has a much bigger role, but she does have you know, she does play a big part in this one as well. Let's talk about the directing in this movie. The director is Robert Zemeckis, and it's produced by Steven Spielberg. However, it's not made by Steven Spielberg. A lot of people think it is, but Robert Zemeckis is the guy that produced this movie. And he's terrific. He just did a terrific job with this movie. He knew the tone he was setting. He knew the tone he was setting with this movie. He knew what kind of movie he wanted to make. He knew he didn't want to make like a big action movie. He wanted to make a movie that everyone can enjoy. He wanted to make a comedy, you know, a comedy sci-fi, basically. He wanted to make a really fun movie, and that's exactly what he did. And that's one of the best parts of this movie. It's really funny. It's really funny to watch, especially the scenes where Marty is with his parents in the past, and he's basically their friend. It's very funny to watch because, you know, he's from 1985, they're from 1955, very different time, obviously. Two very different times, obviously. So it's really funny to watch those scenes specifically. He definitely did a very good job capturing it, and just did a really good job, in my opinion. The cinematography is fantastic in this movie. The cinematography is amazing. I mean, it's great cinematography, in my opinion. I think the cinematography is great. The editing to this movie is perfect. The movie's not even that long. The movie is actually only... How long is the first one? Trying to figure out how long the first one is. Let me see. The first one's only 116 minutes, so, I mean, it was definitely, it's a really short movie for what it could be. It could be like 2 hours, but it's quite short for the type of movie it is, definitely, and I think that's definitely a very good thing that it's short, because, you know, for a movie like this, it holds your attention the entire time, and that's why it's one of the best movies of all time, because of its editing. The editing is perfect. You know, it was also a big summer movie, of course. As I said, it was the most grossing movie of that year. And it did spawn 2 sequels, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. Both of them were very good, but this is by far the best one. The first one's always the best, and the first one will always be the best. The first one's the one that made all the moolah. And it's actually got quite a few awards, believe it or not, award season. Best Film, Original Screenplay. It was nominated for Best Motion Picture. original song. Now, the music in this movie, the music is so good, because when it's 80s, it's 80s music. When it's 50s, it's 50s music. Like, they set the tone perfectly with the music, and the, it's sort of a period, you could say it's a period piece as well when it comes to the 50s, because, you know, the styles, you know, the styles, the clothes, the hair, everything is perfect when it gets to the 50s. The score to this movie, like the classic John Williams score is one that everybody knows. Everyone knows the da 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 da. You know that. Everyone pretty much knows that. That is a classic movie score, in my opinion. Everybody knows that score. It is a fantastic score, and that's one of the best parts of this movie, is the score. The score is just absolutely fantastic. This is also one of my parents' favorite movies of all time. I mean, they're the reason I got into this movie, was because they watched this, when this movie's on, basically when this movie's on, my parents watch it. I mean, it's one of those movies where if it's on TV, I will watch it, because I love it that much. Now, it has been a while since I've seen these movies, but I will watch them whenever they're on TV. I will watch them once in a while, because they're some of my favorite movies of all time. And there are a lot of people's favorite movies of all time. And they're, you know, that's why they're credited as one of the best sci-fi movies of all time, because everyone really, really loves these movies. Everyone really loves Back to the Future. And, you know, it spawned a lot of things. It spawned a, hang on one second, guys. Where is it? The movie was so popular, it spawned a video game. Yes, I have a video game of Back to the Future. It spawned a video game. And yes, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, they were back to do this video game. It's crazy, but they were back for this. So yeah, Back to the Future, the video game, I like playing. That's a very fun game. This also spawned an amusement park ride. There were talks of a musical. I don't know when that's happening, but this is definitely a movie I could see as a musical. Could you guys see this as a musical? I could definitely see it as a musical. Definitely I could see it that way. Just so many great things about this movie. So many quotable lines. Just such a memorable movie. Whether it's, you know, the classic scene, with, you know, there's a really great scene in there. It's a classic scene, you know, it's like a school dance, basically, and, you know, Marty's part of it. He's with his mother, he's with his father, and I love that he's, like, best friends with his father when it's 1955. I think that's really funny. But basically what ends up happening is that, you know, he's forced to play guitar, for the, lead guitarist and singer, who happens to be Chuck Berry's brother. He sings the song Johnny Be Good, and he happens to be Chuck Berry's brother, and it's very funny because the song Johnny Be Good is sung by Chuck Berry, and it's just really clever the way they did that. I mean, that was parodied on Family Guy, actually in a very funny way. They did that in a very, clever way on Family Guy, in my opinion. The way they parodied it, very, very clever. But that's a classic scene. There's also the classic clock tower scene where you don't know if Doc Brown is going to make it or not. You don't know if Marty is going to make it back home in time because there's like a huge storm that's going on. Very suspenseful scene. That's a great thing, is that this movie does have suspense. It's not as suspenseful as the second one. I'll say the second one's a lot more suspenseful. There's also the classic scene with the wheelbarrow chase, or whatever you call it, like the car or the wheelbarrow, where Marty jumps into this wheelbarrow and he's being chased by Biff's guys, basically, and he's being chased by them. They do that in the second one, they do it in the third one, they do that in all three of the movies, and that's one of the best things about all three of these movies. But this movie, actually, the most interesting thing about this movie is the end of the movie. Of course, there's a flying car, and it says to be continued. That originally was supposed to be a joke. They weren't planning on doing a sequel for this movie. But because this movie was so popular, they decided, you know what, we ended up on a cliffhanger, let's do a sequel. They decided to do a sequel, and that's why they did the sequel in the first place. I find that very funny, actually, that the car, you know, the flying car and everything, that was a to-be-continued thing. It wasn't supposed to be taken seriously, and I find that very, very funny, actually, the way they do that. Definitely, that was very good. But Back to the Future is an absolute classic. It's a movie that all of you must watch. It's by far my favorite sci-fi movie of all time. That might change when I watch 2001: Space Odyssey, but I absolutely love this movie. A movie that all of you must check out because it is amazing. It is a mind-blowing movie. It's just an awesome movie. It's everything you could want in a movie. It has comedy, it has drama, it's just like E.T. and Forrest Gump. It has something for everybody, and that's the reason why I love this movie to death. It's one of my favorite movies, as I said, of all time, and I will always love it. Alright, so that's my review of the Back to the Future. Let me know what you guys saw of this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review. However, this time will be for a movie I haven't seen yet, so I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.